Nancy Pelosi herself, who's, member of Congress, and her husband has been dinged for this.
They're getting a ton of publicity right now.
They really are. They really are. But she has said that she wants to pass, laws that restrict congressional trading. But until then, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Because, like I said, it was a perk of being in Congress. They're not going to want to take that away from themselves.
Okay. Everybody, welcome to the Angel Research Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Stutman, and as usual, we are here today to discuss the market's hottest stock stories and investment opportunities. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about insider trading with Mr. Alexander Boulden, who is the founder and managing editor of Insider Stakeout. Insider Stakeout is an investment advisory that tracks the trading activity of the so-called smart money out there. Now, that's not to say that these people are necessarily smarter than you and I, but let's face it, they have access to information that us retail investors are not necessarily privy to. So as a result, these people tend to outperform the market, which is why Alex keeps tabs on them. His strategy has done very well this year. The S&P 500 is down about 17% year to date, last that I checked, and I'm looking at the last 10 trades that Alex has made. 8 of them are winners. So some things that we're going to talk about today, exactly what insider trading is, exactly what Alex's strategy entails, the exact kinds of people that he is tracking, and maybe we're even going to get into some specific insider trading activity that Alex is seeing right now. Yep. Quick disclaimer, nothing that we say here today is personal or financial advice. We can give you the tools and the insights that you need to make great investment decisions, but we can't make those decisions for you. So, also, please like and subscribe and comment, give us some love. With all that out of the way, Alex, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
It's good to have you here. Usually we start off with just a little bit of quick background. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, and more importantly, give us a rundown of what Insider Stakeout is and maybe how you came up with the idea.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of investing, I've been in the markets for 20 years, started investing when I was a teenager. And then I bought my first single stock, and that was pretty much what did it for me, got me hooked. It was GameStop. I bought it at like $2. And that was before the meme stock kind of revolution. So I felt felt good about myself for getting in on that.
A little bit ahead of the curve there?
Yeah, a little bit ahead of the curve. And then, I started getting interested in insider trading with like the Martha Stewarts, the Bernie Madoffs, the white-collar crimes. Started getting interested in that. And then I realized that Congress, up until recently, could trade on material, non-public information. Up until recently, that was a perk of being in Congress. So it kind of piqued my interest, and I started seeing all the news stories about how all these insiders were making money. So I figured, hey, why not build a system that tracks the insiders and see how it does?
Sure. So maybe we could kind of step back a bit and just kind of define what we're talking about when we say insider trading. Because I think when most people hear insider trading, they immediately think that it's illegal. Like, I know what you're doing is perfectly legal because you're just tracking what these insiders are doing. But
right.
Maybe you can kind of, help us define what you're talking about when you say insider trading and the different kinds of insider trading.
Yeah, sure. So insider trading that is illegal is when you trade stock based on private information that the public doesn't know about. If you're the CEO of a company and you make a trade and you don't disclose that information, or you tell a friend about it and they trade on it, that's illegal, and there's a huge fine and jail time. So obviously nobody wants to get dinged for that. So basically it's kind of like a loophole. Top level executives at companies can trade stock, and they know all the information. We know that they know all the information that's coming up.
It would be naive to think otherwise.
Yeah. So all they have to do is disclose that information to the SEC, and then hopefully everything is hunky-dory. And it's not really up to us to decide that. We're just looking at the information and then giving it out.
Sure. So you don't know exactly what they know, but you're working off the assumption that they are trading off of information like that.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So who you mentioned, CEOs and maybe CFOs, but who exactly are you tracking? Is it just the C-suite executives, or is it other people as well?
So I like to track the C-suite executives who are like the CEOs, FOs, COOs. They have more information than, say, directors or 10% owners. Those people are really just kind of funneling money in and out. But I also like to look at hedge funds, institutional investors, kind of like your Warren Buffetts. And then also it's a good thing to see how politicians are trading as well. All that information is available online, and it just kind of sheds light on what new laws might be upcoming that will affect stocks in the future.
Okay, and of all those individuals and groups, is there any specific group that you find to provide that they may provide more actionable information, or that their trades tend to be more reliable in terms of performance?
I think the C-suite execs are the most important. With the politicians and the hedge funds, they report information months after the fact. That's just how their regulations work.
Sure. So that information, I guess, is kind of delayed.
It's delayed, yeah.
So you don't trade on it as much, or?
I wouldn't use that to make a trade.
Okay.
But I would use it to inform kind of the direction or sentiment in a stock.
Okay, so there's definitely a legal push right now. Speaking of the politicians making trades, or at least there recently was a push to basically ban them from trading, because a lot of times they'll have knowledge of a major bill that's going to pass. It can impact entire industries. I think. First question: do you ever think that's going to happen? Are we going to see a ban on congressional members making trades, or?
I think that the public wants that. The American people probably want that. Nancy Pelosi herself, who's member of Congress, and her husband has been dinged for this.
They're getting a ton of publicity right now.
They really are. They really are. But she has said that she wants to pass, laws that restrict congressional trading. But until then, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Because, like I said, it was a perk of being in Congress. They're not going to want to take that away from themselves.
Yeah, and I think, hey, at this point, she's been doing it for the last, almost longer than I've been alive. She's been in Congress. So, I guess that doesn't really screw her that much. I have some numbers here. Her net worth over the last couple of years has ballooned from $32 million to $115 million, which is obviously much higher than her congressional salary. So that's pretty suspicious. We also have the recent, Paul Pelosi, her husband, recently bought some shares of a stock surrounding some legislation that's coming through. Could you kind of inform the audience about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the mainstream media is definitely up in arms about this. He's a prolific trader. Like, if you look at his trades, he's very timely. He's good at timing the market, which is not something that, you can really do that well. And he just seems to be very good at it.
Well, it's certainly convenient.
It's very convenient. What he's doing is buying calls on stocks that are in the money so he can purchase them for lower than the market price. And he did that on NVIDIA. So he bought 20,000 shares for around $100 when it was trading at $160.
Why NVIDIA?
Because there are two bills going through Congress. The CHIPS Act and the FABS Act, which will give something like $52 million and tax breaks to domestic chip makers. And NVIDIA is a chip maker. So he's betting that that's going to pay off in the future.
Sure, and that's just a coincidence, right?
Apparently, yeah.
So is Paul some kind of trading genius, or is he maybe participating in some insider trading here? What do we think?
It's not for us. It's not up for us to decide.
Sure.
But it's very suspicious.
No. Absolutely not. Okay, thank you.
All right, fair enough. That's very PC, or that's a safe answer that you're giving us here. And it's not just Congress either who's participating in a lot of this. I pulled this headline yesterday. I thought it was pretty interesting. Former Apple exec tasked with enforcing insider trading rules admits to insider trading. That was from 9 to 5 Mac, which that's the irony there is pretty crazy. So look, there's a lot of inside trades happening all the time. I was in preparing for this podcast, I was looking at the list, and there's dozens that are coming in every day. So obviously you're doing a lot more than just copying every single trade. It's not that simple. So how do you select? Obviously you're using these trades to inform your own. How do you what are you looking for there? Are there specific metrics or anything like that?
So the first thing I look at is cluster buying, where you see multiple insiders buying the same stock around the same price and around the same time.
Sure.
And that really shows you that they're confident in the future prospects, or there is something coming up that they know about that the general public doesn't know about.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the most important indicators. And we also look at like a few fundamental things. I like to look at volume because that might show you something that can't be seen through these filings with the SEC. You might have, them. We kind of call it the family and friends indicator, where other people who know about it are now buying in, and it's now becoming a trend, and you see the volume spike, and hopefully that trade goes in your favor at that point.
Okay, so you were mentioning, C-suite executives maybe, knowing that something was going to go down. I know you recently made a trade on an EV maker. That the timing of that insider buying and then an announcement that came out was very suspicious, and I think it kind of speaks to the how your strategy works. Maybe you can give us a little bit of detail on that.
Yeah. I don't want to give away the name of the company because we actually bought it again because I do like it so much. But
sure, you have paying subscribers, and you don't
Yes.
you don't want to give away the information. It wouldn't be fair to them.
Yes.
Okay.
So I found in last November the CEO of a EV maker, and it's a penny stock. They bought. I'm not sure the exact number.
He bought a shit ton of shares, basically.
He did. He bought a large number of shares, and it was just a big number. It was something like 200. It was over $230 million worth of shares.
Sure.
So that kind of raised alarm bells. And then months later, we just found out last month that they announced deals with a big supply chain. Well, it's Walmart and the U.S. Army.
Yeah.
So the stock, skyrocketed. It went up 100%.
Sure.
Just on that news. So
yeah. So it's very likely that the guy was aware of this information beforehand.
Yes.
Obviously, if he had bought it, you said how long ago was it?
it was in November.
Okay. So yeah, he wasn't aware of the market crash that was coming, but he was probably aware of that information. So
Yeah.
you actually had the benefit of kind of being able to wait that out. You waited out the market crash, and you happened to just kind of purchase these shares like a week or so before.
Yes.
Was there any volume indication that kind of sparked that trade for you? Because I know usually a combination of these factors.
So another thing I like to look at is it's called the RSI, the Relative Strength Index.
Yep.
And the market drop was kind of working in our favor at this point because the RSI measures speed and magnitude of daily stock price movements.
Okay.
And it can tell you whether a stock is oversold or overbought. And in this case, it was oversold. So when that happened, we bought in, and then it reversed to the upside.
Okay, that makes sense. So you're basically looking at a combination of forms that these insiders or the smart money is required to follow, plus this, an RSI, which is a volume indicator, and that kind of gives you an indication that money's flowing into the stock, and maybe that's around the time that you're going to purchase. What about any other recent activity that you're seeing right now, or that you've seen over the last couple of weeks that is kind of sparking your attention?
Yeah, there's something interesting going on with Twitter. I know that with the I've been following the Elon Musk Twitter deal, and so it just made me interested in it. And I looked up the Form 4s, which the insiders have to file with the SEC, and found that the Saudi prince had purchased $20 million worth of stock, and it says that he's a possible 10% owner on the form. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then he sold it 5 days later for a loss. So it makes me think that there's something going on with that sale. Maybe he knows something that's coming up. And, the trial is coming up too. So depending on whether Musk has to purchase it, I know he's lawyered up, so hopefully he doesn't have to. But there could be a big swing either way.
So do you think that sale is more indicative of a short opportunity, or are you kind of just like, since he purchased and then sold, it's kind of like, is that just kind of even out, or?
It's hard to say. I'm watching it, and it could be a short opportunity. Twitter's PE, like price to earnings, is like 160, which is really, really high.
Sure.
So unless they beat earnings or something, there could be definitely a downtrend in that stock.
Okay. Are there any specific individuals or groups that you like to follow? I know we talked about kind of these like broader categories, like, the executives, but are there actually any like individuals or specific hedge funds that you think are particularly reliable or?
Yeah. We could just go back to Warren Buffett. His Berkshire Hathaway is a very good way to track large amounts. He buys billions of dollars worth of stock, and we actually have one pick in the portfolio that he's a 20% owner of now, and he's just been steadily buying shares this year. So we're feeling pretty good about that pick.
Sure. How often do you guys like to make trades in Insider Stakeout?
I like to do it on a weekly basis. Sometimes it doesn't happen. We're kind of at the whim of when these trades come in and when they're filed. And, a lot of the times insiders will, if there's market sentiment to the upside, they'll start buying more. So we kind of wait and see. But I like to do it weekly, if not bi-weekly. So. Okay,
great. Well, look, based on your last 10 trades that I looked at, it looks like you're doing really, really well. If anyone wants access to to your trades, what do? They just sign up to Insider Stakeout, or?
Yeah, you can sign up to Insider Stakeout and see for yourself. I have a guidebook that gives you everything you need to know, how to make these trades yourself, what to look for, what I'm looking for, and yeah, we just keep trucking along, trying to make some good trades.
Okay, great. Look, we're going to put a link in the description so that if anyone wants to, check out Insider Stakeout, see if it's right for them, they can do that. Anyone who's watching, please like and subscribe, comment, all that jazz, show us some love. Alex, it was great to have you on the show. I think that, you should definitely come back soon, and we kind of can talk about some more of these shady insider trades that are going on, because I think this is a super interesting topic. And,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, it'd be good to have you again.
Cool, thank you.